Okay, let's do an example for an international trade deal for what will ultimately be 30,000 metric tons. The numbers I'm going to use are just examples. Let's say that you want to buy 100 metric tons of HMS 1 and 2. You're the buyer and you have a seller. As the buyer, you want to use 40-foot containers. The average 40-foot container has a maximum load capacity of 43,000 pounds, or 21.5 metric tons roughly. Depending on the company that you use to buy or rent these containers, many companies, many buyers will ultimately rent or lease containers. You may pay as little as $100 or as much as $200 or more for a single container for 4 weeks. But the figures we're going to use here are just examples. I'm going to use a figure of $350. That covers the cost of the container, any delivery charges for the container, any liability charges, and any pickup charges if there are any. So we have a figure of $350 for the container, just for the container. And let's say that you're buying HMS 1 and 2 at $300 per metric ton. If you're going to do a minimum of 100 metric tons, you're going to need a minimum of 5 containers. So already for 5 containers times 350, that's $1,750. The 100 metric tons of HMS 1 and 2 at $300 is $30,000. So the total is $31,750 just to start. Now, that doesn't cover any other costs that you might incur, such as maybe insurance, if any, and any other costs that we haven't talked about here. In a later podcast or another video, I'll discuss additional costs. But right now, I just want to stick to several costs that people tend not to consider when they're doing the kind of transaction, particularly if they're brokers and don't know all the facts. Let's say you stick with the 100 metric tons. That's $31,750. Now, if you multiply that by a factor of 10 to 1,000 metric tons, you, as the buyer, or your client, is now looking at a cost of $317,500. If you multiply that by a factor of 10 and go up to 10,000 metric tons, the cost jumps again to $3,175,000. And again, if you multiply that by a factor of 3 to the magic number of 30,000 metric tons, the cost for everything, the containers and the scrap metal, jumps to $9,525,000. This is an enormous sum, but it's something to consider if you're a new broker. If you're a broker and you actually have a client, chances are they may not have the kind of money necessary to do these kinds of deals. As I stated earlier, if a client has this kind of money, they may already have the kinds of contacts they need to do these sort of deals. As a result, you're going to be very hard pressed to find a legitimate buyer who's prepared to put out this kind of money and pay you the kind of commission you're looking for, even if it's a modest $1 to $2. Again, these figures don't cover any of the additional costs that may be incurred during this transaction. For example, depending on who the buyer is, they may want to change the contract if the goods in question are halfway to the objective. Say if they're being shipped from a port in Vancouver or Seattle to, say, Hong Kong or someplace else in Southeast Asia. These things happen. So you need to have all your contacts under control. You need to have all the answers to what you're doing in advance. This is why many small brokers never succeed in doing deals. They either let their egos get in the way, or they don't know all the facts, and then the facts hit them in the face at the last minute, and they don't know what to do. This is why you need to learn as much as you can about these particular types of trade transactions before you attempt to enter into them. Otherwise, a potential buyer is not going to take you seriously. I hope that you have found these insights useful. As usual, for you YouTube and other video sharing website users, always please comment, rate, and subscribe to our videos. If you have any questions, please contact us at our YouTube site or by email at thewinner@blackfiber.tv. Also, be sure to visit our website, www.capitalistinternational.org. I'm your host, Mohammed Bey. Thanks for watching this video. Thanks for visiting our website. Take care.